My guy sends me more fake shit with this Woj account, and I always he goes, "Do we got a drug test trend or what?"
I don't know, maybe it's something. Welcome to Rogue Bogues, another edition of the basketball series. Myself, Mike Procopio, live from Dallas. A lot to get through. A lot of news in this last, been 2.5, 3 weeks. Probably our biggest hiatus. Pro was fuming at the fact that you had to wait 2.5 weeks to get on another episode. But a lot to get through.
It's actually a quick turnover, by the way. So that's good. I'm glad. Go on vacation more.
We're back every 2 weeks now. We'll get more consistent, but a lot going on, a lot to get through. We'll start with our, as per usual, Team of the Weeks, and I'm going to go first, take the pressure off Pro, but I'm going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've been playing really well as of late. They were one of my teams that I picked to be, I think I picked them fourth, and they're fourth right now. I thought they'd scrape in that fourth spot. They had a lot of momentum last season. They started shitty. They were at one point playing territory below 500, but they've really turned on the Jets right now. They've won 7 straight. They're 25-15. They're sitting pretty in the Eastern Conference. They're one game above the Knicks, and they're a couple of games outside of the top 6, which obviously gets you a guaranteed bid to the playoffs. But playing well, playing together, length, size, athleticism. They're a young team, so they're going to have their road bumps. But I just thought the growth of them last season, coming into this season with another year under their belt with Mobley and a bunch of the young guys, Allen's been playing better for them in that big spot, and Mitchell, that they would put it all together, and they have. Garland's been playing well as well. So credit to them. Fourth, playing well.
Yeah, they've had a bunch of injuries too, Bogues. Like Mobley's been out. I think he's out the rest of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Is he really? I didn't see that.
And then Garland's been out for a while with, I want to say like a knee issue. Trent could probably check that, but they've been playing really, really well. So Donovan Mitchell's been playing great. Strus has been playing well. Georges Niang had like 33 the other night. They play hard, and Jared Allen playing out of his mind. Tristan Thompson gets regular minutes. I mean, it's a pretty interesting deal.
Yeah, definitely.
Dude,
yeah.
Folks, think about this. I've never seen this happen. Tristan Thompson was breaking down games for ESPN 2 years ago, and the guy's playing rotation minutes for a team that's top 4 in the East. It's crazy. I've never, ever seen it. Usually, you would think that, all right, he's done, and boom, 12 minutes a game. But, Donovan's been playing really, really well. But they move the ball. Karis LeVert comes in, gives him great minutes. Okoro gives him minutes. Georges Niang, gives him some solid minutes too. They've been playing well. JV Bickerstaff, man, he's been around forever. Took over a million bad jobs, and it's hard to get some footing, and then gets his footing here, and they sort of play that smash mouth basketball with Mitchell and Allen and those guys. They're pretty fun. They're a pretty fun team to watch.
Garland is should be back. He was out on the 15th of December with a fractured jaw, so he's back. He should be. I think he played. I'm pretty sure he played the last couple of games, but anyway, I have to double check that. Mobley, yes, 6 to 8 weeks knee surgery as of the middle of December, so he might scrape back in the close. He should be back. Yeah, he should be back by post deadline, maybe. But the fact that they're holding steady with the guys out, different guys stepping up. They could have easily went the other way like a few other teams when they have a few injuries. So credit to them. Who do you have this week?
All right, so I was going to go well, first of all, I had Cleveland. I don't want to do same. I was going to do Clippers because they're playing great. Then Trent talks me out of it. Not talks me out of it, but made up a great point. How about the Utah Jazz? And you know what? Utah Jazz. Team that everyone thought they were going to tank and they were going to do this and that. They're steady at right now. I think they're at 9. I think they're 22-22. But man, they are a fun team to watch. First of all, they got a great coaching staff. One of they're one of the better young coaches in the league, but they just play hard. Obviously Marketing's their main guy, but Jordan Clarkson comes in and does his thing. Kenyatte George, rookie who's playing really well for them, averaging 10-4, but they just come in, they play hard. Walker Kessler, shot blocker, not a huge John Collins fan, but he plays, they come together. And I checked it because I texted Ainge actually a couple of weeks ago to see if this guy was in my bloodline. one of my favorite players, Bogues, Simone Fontecchio.
Oh, Fontecchio, Italian.
Yeah, from Italy. I love the guy. Like long arm. First of all, he might be the first Italian with long arms in the last 300 years. Like the guy's got length. He's got a little shit to his game. He's good. He could shoot. And he's pretty cool. But they play hard, man. I enjoy watching them. Like I said, one of the better young coaches in the league. You know, they play hard. They go at you. They got shot blocking. Olenek comes in, does his thing. You know, they're pretty cool to watch. Have you seen that much, both?
I actually caught the game. I think it was the Lakers. No, sorry, Houston last night. I saw that game, a little bit of that game, checked in to just see how those two teams were going. But yeah, they don't. Yeah, they just go out. Yeah, they don't have I don't think they have a specific. I mean, Markkanen's obviously their gunner offensively, but they have numerous different guys they can go to. One guy's having a quiet night. They go to their bench. I think they have a good mix of youth and athleticism and length, and they just play kind of a helter-skelter type of ball. Like they do get after you. They're young guards, pick up full court. They try to turn you over. They got a bit of oomph to them as well. They go at you face to face. So it's been they were, I think at one point they were 13th, I think, in the league. You know, and
they were going down.
So yeah, their last, you know, they're 7-3 in their last 10, and 22-22 at 500, sitting in 9th. So above the Lakers, which are, you know, is a whole separate issue. They continue to underperform, but yeah, I think the Utah Jazz, they're pretty well coached as well. He does a pretty good job down there, and really good fan base. So I'd be interested to see if they can continue this form and maybe sneak into a play-in and maybe cause a surprise. But we'll see how that goes. All right. My weak team of the period, I go to the Sacramento Kings. They are struggling. Our guy, Harrison Barnes, on the hot seat, involved in numerous trade rumors. Siakam was one of them. That's now gone off the table. He's probably had a really bad month or two, probably the worst month or two he's had in a long, long time, pro. His numbers not great, not shooting the ball well. It just seems like nothing's coming easy right now. He's in one of those ruts, and we all go through them. We all go through periods in our career where we have, you know, I'm always talk about don't let a bad week turn into 2 weeks, don't let a bad month turn into 2 months. And I think he's in that little well right now and trying to dig himself out. He's, as we know, he's the utmost professional as far as doing what he needs to do. He's not a guy that'll just now go home and cry and not do his extra work and shots. And then I can guarantee you he's in the gym getting shots up. He's doing his cold tub. He's doing his extra rehab stuff. He's in the weight room, but it's just not coming together. But my thing is, you know, the Kings are still in 7th, so you might say, okay, what's a big deal? But they've lost 4 straight. They're 4-6 in their last 10. But it's the way they've lost games, pro. I don't know if you saw that Phoenix game where KD went crazy, but they were up by 15 in the fourth quarter. Full control of the game, absolutely dominating Phoenix, and they just found a way to lose, and they've done that numerous times over the course of the last month. And we talk about, you know, usually younger teams will give an excuse to lose or find a way to lose. Up 20, they'll find a way to lose. This isn't really a young team anymore. They got a bunch of veterans, a bunch of young stars, but they're starting to learn how to find a way to lose. And that's a dangerous combination. No, Mike Brown's a pretty good coach, and he's going to get after him, but they've been pretty disappointing, and it just has not fit as we thought it would have coming off last season, where they made a huge surge. They're still in the mix. It's not at the end of the world. 23-18. They're not going to fall to a play-in, I don't think. I mean, they're three full games ahead of 11th, but if they don't start finding a little bit of form, they could find themselves, you know, down the bottom end of that plane, 8, 9, 10, and then all of a sudden you might get Dallas or Phoenix or a young, hungry Utah Jazz in that plane, which you don't want to face. But they're my team that has really struggled lately.
Bogues, they are in a little bit of a rut. You know, I think last year taking the league by storm for sure and doing what they were doing. And, you know, like you said, sometimes it snowballs into 1 game, 2 games, 5 games, 7 games, and you just find this rut, and you got to sort of, and that's why I think routines are so important in the NBA, to sort of get you back to 0 to compete. And you're going to go through shooting slumps. You're going to go through defensive ruts. And, you know, look, they've got a good team on paper, you know, for what they have. Obviously, Fox and Sabonis and Keegan Murray and, you know, Hurt is up and down. Malik Monk has had some great games off the bench and given them a lot of energy and things. I think Vezenkov, the kid that got the EuroLeague MVP, has been a little bit of a disappointment in the learning curve of NBA athleticism and dealing with what he's got to deal with on a nightly basis. So, yeah, it just snowballs, man. It just snowballs into rough nights and rough weeks. And look, man, I mean, they're still very much in things, but it's just, right now they're eighth. They're sort of, teetering. They're a couple of 2.5 above Utah and tied with Phoenix, but there's not really an uptick right now, and they got to find a second gear. They got to find, hey, look, we're in this rut. Let's get it back together. We're a good enough team. I mean, look, if you look at it up top, there's no way they're gonna get over Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Denver, Clippers are soaring. But right now, they could battle with Phoenix and Dallas, probably more Dallas than anything. Maybe New Orleans will take a downtick in what they're doing, but yeah, they're just in it. They're in a rut and they got to figure things out. Like I know Harrison has been mentioned in some trades and stuff. Yeah, they're probably not going to move Fox. They're probably not going to move Sabonis. I know they really like Murray. I would assume that Harrison and Herter would be, even Monk would be guys that maybe they'll try to upgrade their roster and try to trade. I like Harrison. I would keep him because he's a solid player. He's a guy that's a good fourth option that could step up every 4 or 5 games. He could have a really good game for you. But yeah, they're really struggling, and you just gotta, they gotta man up on it.
Agree. Who do you have?
Bogues, I got the Golden State Warriors, brother. I mean, it's easy to give it to Washington or one of these teams that are really Detroit are really bad, but to me, it's Golden State. I mean, it's easy, like everybody shits on them. I get it, like underachieving, the whole dynasty stuff is over, but they got to find. Talking about finding ways to lose, they've just been struggling, man. And it's been season long, but now look, Chris Paul's out, and but Draymond suspension thing, but still, like, you got enough talent to win games. And I don't watch them enough. I watch them, but I don't watch them every day in every game. But Wiggins has been such a disappointment. The whole Green thing, obviously. Clay's been really under par since for most of the year. Although he's had some moments that are decent, but Kuminga's been very disappointing. I got to hear about him bitching about Steve Kerr's not the coach for him. And, that's, if a really good player said that, I would have a little bit of, all right, maybe it's true. But when you have a guy who's been inconsistent his whole career on work ethic and playing hard and playing with heart and all that stuff, I don't know. That's a little bit of drama there, but it'll be interesting what they do in the next month, Bogues, with trade deadline, if they can move guys. Problem is, I don't think they have much value. Like, I don't think Clay gets you a lot. Green gets you almost nothing. If you trade Kuminga, you'll get something. Paul's worthless on the trade market. You're not trading Steph. So there's not really a lot of moves, in my opinion, that they can make. I think if you trade Draymond, if you deal Draymond, you're just going to get, you're going to get some salaries, and you might get a vet that's okay, or a couple of players that are decent, but you're not getting anything. And, I don't see where they're going from here.
And yeah, it's interesting you bring Kuminga thing up. I mean, that happened like literally an hour after we finished our last pod. Would have been good to talk about. Yeah. We can talk about it now, but you just, there's a lot of people in Golden State and a lot of fans that are split on Steve Kerr and saying, well, he should be developing the younger guys and playing the younger guys. And I don't think you get that last championship if you do that. It's such a hard art form to develop young guys, but also try to win games at the same time. Not many teams can do that. OKC couldn't do it early on. They had to tank. Philly did the same thing. So what's interesting is I see these fans saying, well, Steve hasn't developed the young guys. Well, it's like, okay, after that bad year they had before the last championship that year where they won 20 games, would that have been a year to blow it up and develop the young guys? You don't get that championship the next year. So, yes, I think that they're not in that position now. Looking back, like they still had a lot of good pieces. Andre was still playing. They made the Wiggins trade, and it all worked out. They're probably in a worse situation now, roster-wise, but what do you say? Okay, Kuminga's a guy that super athletic, can get his nose, above the rim, but he's a guy that needs a ball in his hands. He's a let me get in my bag guy, give me the ball. Well, You got Steph Curry right next to you. You're not taking his touches. Clay's still Clay regardless. Now there's an argument saying that, should Clay have less usage and less touches? Maybe, but then he's not Clay anymore. Even if he's not shooting the ball well, you need him to be aggressive. So then you got CP3 off the bench, who's a big playmaker and he has the ball in his hands. Where do you think you're going to fit in, Kuminga? To me, you can find a lot of easy baskets in that system just by cutting and hitting the O boards. If you feel like you're getting the rough end of the stick, or like, oh, I'm not getting touches, Steve won't run shit for me, I can't get in my bag, go and find it yourself. I know for a fact, playing with Steph and Clay and these guys, you're going to get 2 to 3 easy looks, like literally catch the ball and put in the basket looks a game, as the defense is so attuned to try and stop them. And I think Kuminga is just a bad fit for that roster with those guys. Now, all those people that say it's time to develop the young guys, well, then the discussion needs to be had. Do you move off Steph, Clay, Draymond, start developing your young guys? Because Kuminga needs the ball in his hands. That's the kind of player that he is. So it's always interesting just listening to. I've got some friends that are still over there, and there's people in the media that are pro Steve and anti Steve, and I'm talking to all of them, just saying like, well, then if you're heavily against what's going on, you don't get that last championship. So there's a lot of sport fans in the Bay Area. I'm looking at it like you've had 4 championships in 10 years, and everyone's losing their fucking minds over there. You're gonna have bad years. You get 2 chips in a decade, you're batting above average. You're doing really well. And talk to the Detroit Pistons, talk to the New Orleans Pelicans, talk to some of these teams, Sacramento Kings. They'll say, I'll take 1 championship in the next decade to have 3 or 4 shitty years. So you got to take that with a grain of salt with Golden State Warriors, and they're so used to winning and being on that pedestal that I think it's kind of blinded a lot of them. It's not as easy as that, bro.
Well, it's hard, Bogues. For me, I don't look at Kerr as a development coach. I don't think Kerr is a guy that's going to make young players better. What I think he is, because look, even the really good players didn't really develop under him. They won under him, right? Like I think Mark Jackson really did. And I'm not saying Mark did it, could have been a staff, what have you. But like, Steph, Clay, Draymond sort of took their licks early in their career doing that. And then they were ready to go. And then Kerr is one of those Phil Jackson types, in my opinion, that look, no coach, I don't care who you are in the league. If you don't have talent, you're not going to win. Or if you got injuries, you're not going to win. But with Kerr took them over the edge as far as getting them focused, doing what they're supposed to do, and sort of taking them from a contender to a championship level team. Now, that's where I see him. And young guys, it's hard to develop in a really good team because you got a really good team you're not going to play. Ask Darko Milicic when they drafted him in Detroit and things like that. Even really high draft picks, it's really hard to get in games. Now, where they really screwed up, in my opinion, is draft lately. I think Bob Myers did a really good job early. Obviously with Clay and Draymond and the Steph Curry deal. I don't know I think he was there with the Steph Curry draft. I'm almost positive. If I'm not, I'm mistaken. But where they really messed up is Wiseman drafted Wiseman. Look, you always going to make mistakes in this thing, and it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback. But when you have a dynasty that's getting older, and that you got to continue to, like what San Antonio did with Kawhi Leonard, making that trade, on draft day to get him, and then rearranging the roster and keeping their main guys intact. That's sort of how do you do it with dynasties. You're going to mess up drafts in 26, 28, 30th pick, but not taking either Ball or Halliburton over Wiseman right there really set them back, because then you traded off Wiseman for nothing, right? And now Kuminga, there's not really a lot of guys you could have drafted over Kuminga. Probably Franz Wagner was probably the other guy that's a lot better than Kuminga that got drafted the next pick. But that's like when you're drafting in the top 5, top 10, you really can't make those big mistakes. And I think that like you do differently in the draft. Now we're talking about a different conversation. I'm not really putting it all on management and all on Kerr. Look, like you said, you made great points. What do you want to do? Do you want to blow the thing up over what? Like, what are you going to blow the thing up for? Back a couple of years ago, like, Kuminga, there's always minutes to be played. In a great team, you're always going to blow teams out. You're going to probably have back-to-backs where your older guys aren't going to play. There's plenty of time for Kuminga to develop. You don't develop in the NBA by just shooting jump shots with some development coach at 10 o'clock at night. You do it by getting NBA minutes. You figure it out. And he's had plenty of opportunity to be a consistent player. And now it's time when these guys are getting hurt or suspended, it's time for you to step up. And he's had a couple of games that you look at it, wow, Kuminga's doing all right. I guarantee you watch the film, you watch the games, there's a lot more games where he hasn't stepped up and he hasn't done what he's going to do. Look, it's over. There's no turning back from this. It is what it is. I saw it with the Celtics. I saw it with the Spurs. You see it with different teams that go through, multiple championships. It's just they can't really get it done anymore. And that's what it is. In my opinion, you keep Curry, you keep him, and you just keep him there. And now keep him there as long as he wants to be there, but saying, look, we're probably going to have to, rebuild this thing, going forward because or you guys are just going to get old and there's nothing we can do. Like Clay and Draymond, you might be able to get a little something. Wiggins, you won't be able to get anything really for. You play Kuminga, you try to, there's not really any salary cap to really sign free agents, but they are what they are, Bogues. And I think they're going to be struggling. And I think it's just time to keep Steph and just wipe everything else out and just try to get what you can get.
Yeah, and like I said, 4 chips in 10 years. So that's the penalty you pay is you get longevity. But now you're going to have some down years, Golden State Warriors fans, whether that's post-Steph or wherever they move. But I think the next decade is going to be a little bit rougher. You can't, people are just silly thinking you're going to replicate what you did the last 10 years into now, especially Steph moving out of his prime, Clay with the injury stuff and Draymond and all that. That dynasty window is slowly closing, and it happens to everyone. A lot of people thought it closed after the 3rd chip. They managed to squeeze a 4th one out. But it happened to the Chicago Bulls, it happened to the Los Angeles Lakers, and it's hard to talk about. But you'd like to see Steph retire a Golden State Warrior, and I think he's very capable of doing that just based on the fact that even when he slows down from a ball usage point of view, you can still have him on the court as a shooter because he shoots the ball so well. So I think he's one of those unique talents that could play into his late 30s, if not 40, but obviously not on not high minute level of 30, 35 minutes. So we'll watch that space and see how it goes. And on a more somber note, we wish the best to Dejan Milojević and his family and everyone around him. And the Warriors assistant coach tragically passed away last week, 46 years old. Gruesome circumstances as far as reportedly collapsing at a team dinner, going down, having a heart attack, carrying him out of there, and then passing away later on. Just brutal. I've never been a part of anything like that, but I can imagine players and coaches and everyone, they end up postponing the game. It was in Utah, I believe. Was it pro? I think
2 games, yeah, multiple. I think
multiple games, which is the right decision. I mean, it's one thing someone passing away, but when you see it in what's supposed to be a happy kind of team dinner type atmosphere, and it's tough, and everyone has a lot of good things to say. He was, Nikola Jokic's mentor, former player in Serbia, a very good player, might I add, in his native Serbia. And a lot of people, I haven't dealt with him a lot. I don't think you have neither, but a lot of people have good things. You don't hear a lot of negative, and just tragic. And it just shows you, we spoke about it off air, how, brutal the NBA life can be as well. He's only 46, but the travel, being on a plane all day, the cabin pressure up and down on the road, not away from your family. A lot of times diet isn't great because you're just helter-skelter, and a lot of assistant coaches absolutely work their balls off because they're cutting film and, give me this clip from head coach. I need this, I need that, go do this. And that's what a lot of people don't see. They just see, it's an NBA assistant coach. He's got it made. They do work very, very hard. So wish all the best to his family, Pro. And I don't know if you want to touch on any of that as we move on.
Just a brutal. It is brutal. Like you think that it's easy street. And then look, a lot of the NBA is cool. You stay in great hotels and your travel is awesome. You get to be around the best players in the league, in the world. But it is brutal. You're away from your family. You're constantly flying. You're constantly in meetings and, working out players or cutting up film. Look, I don't think they burn the midnight oil, in front of the bench in Golden State, but I'm sure those guys behind the bench and doing what they got to do, they got to cut it up. They got to cut film. It's long hours. Look, the diet as good as the food could be on the plane, you're still eating at odd hours. You're getting up early. The sleep pattern's off. Then you got to spend time with your family if you have one when you get home and doing all that. The pressures of winning, they're losing. So it's probably, even if you're not one of those guys that live and die by every win or loss, it's still on you. There's a lot of scrutiny in the team, and it really comes center stage. I don't know if he had any health issues. I don't know him. Everybody I spoke to, I probably spoke to 20 people in the NBA since his tragic passing, and everyone had great words to say. He's always upbeat. Players loved him, loved being around him, and put a lot of work into it. So, yeah, I wish the best for him and his family, and Golden State. It's tragic, and for those players and staff to be around that, it's different if he passed away at home, but a guy that you travel with, and look, you have that travel party. Obviously the travel parties are getting bigger and bigger in the NBA, but you get 60 or 70 people that you travel with on all these dates. You're on planes together, buses together, all functions together, meals together. And now to have that tragically pass in front of everybody, or at least the heart attack happen in front of everyone, that's gotta hurt, man. That's gotta affect you psychologically, physically, and just understand how precious life is. It's a rough deal for sure.
Yeah, and how quickly it can all happen. We've all had someone in our lives pass away, and it just makes you kind of reflect on enjoying the now and having a good time now while you're here and with people that you love. So, all right, moving on. There was a trade last week. Pascal Siakam has gone to Indiana. A trade that sent Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, 3 first-round picks to the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors, of course, making another trade before that with the New York Knicks, which we spoke about last time. But there was a few teams poking around on Siakam. The Pacers kind of came in late, swooped in. But I think, the Raptors are kind of moving into a development rebuild phase. They've got some good pieces within their rebuild, some young stars, Quickly and Barrett and whatnot. And the Pacers, hopefully, look, I would have liked them to address a little bit of defense in Indiana if they could have. They've just traded and doubled down for more offense and gotten rid of one of their best perimeter defenders in Bruce Brown, which I found interesting, considering that Carlisle's been yelling and screaming that they don't guard anyone. Siakam's not a very good defender. I don't think he buys in too much to that end. I think he's much more of an offensive guy. So interesting to see. They might go from averaging 150 to 160 now, but they might be giving up 170. But they're running a high pace. I think he's a perfect fit for their offense in the way he can get to the hole. They can play small ball lineups with him. So I like the move from that aspect, but I would have liked to see them shore up defensively a little bit. Maybe they find something in the buyout market or closer to the deadline to bring in maybe a perimeter stopper. But as I said, I like the Indiana Pacers in the regular season. I think in a 7-game series, you got to have a few dogs that can defend, and they don't have any at the moment. So hopefully they find something if they think they're going to get through a playoff series playing that style. I don't see it, but what do you think about the trade, bro?
Bogues, it's really hard in this league to acquire great talent. And I'm not saying Siakam's a great talent, but he's probably somebody in the top 30, 35 in the league. I think that, look, Indiana's one of those towns that are like Sacramento or somewhere like that where, no one really wants to go to Indiana as far as an elite player. Elite players are going to go to other markets. They're going to go to bigger markets, teams that are built to win now. So for Indiana, you only acquire talent in this league by drafting it, trading for it, or developing it. And they're not going to draft high enough to draft an elite player, a great player. They have limited assets that they could have that they want to trade out. Halliburton's one guy they would keep. They got decent young players, but to be able to acquire a player in the top 30 for them and put him with Halliburton, Siakam, in my opinion, is not a number 2, but he could be a good number 3. But I think you have to try to do what you can do. Those young players they have aren't going to get better short enough period of time to make any type of playoff run. I'm not saying Siakam makes him do that, but he definitely upgrades the overall talent they have, and having another guy they can go to. The way they play, they're up-tempo, they want to score. Look, they don't want to guard. You could talk about wanting to guard all you want. They want to go up and down, and they want to score. If you could score at the elite, at the elite level they're doing it now, even though defense does hurt you, you want to complain about it, you're not going to give up offense for defense, because then you can't make enough moves that's going to make them a really good defensive team. Siakam's a rim runner. He gives you energy. He's not all that skilled. He doesn't really shoot the ball like that. He plays a little bit in the post. He has the ball in his hands a lot, but he runs. And I think with Halliburton, doing what he can do, passing the ball, their up-tempo style, I think he fits what they need. And he's somebody who could score points for him. He could take pressure a little bit off Halliburton to be a scorer. They still got, Mathurin, they got Hield, and Naismith's been playing well. They got guys that can play, but I think he gives them energy, but he's another guy. If they could re-sign him long-term, and now you've got Halliburton and Siakam going forward, I think it at least gives you some stability of having that talent, because look, you're in Indiana. Again, not a lot until they're number one, number two team in the East, like a Milwaukee was years ago. No one really wanted to go to Milwaukee either, unless you got drafted there or you were a B-level free agent that got overpaid. And that's what Indiana's in. Until you can make that leap into a top two team in the East, then free agents want to come and people want to get there. Until you do that, and this puts them in the best possible situation to do that, at least going forward, to see what they got in Siakam and Halliburton. Now, Siakam's a little older for sure, like I think 29 or so. So you only got a couple of years where he could be like, where he's going to give you his quote unquote elite years. So you got a couple of years to figure this out. If not, you could always trade him for value. You could always get something back, even if you re-sign him. But, I think you figure it out. I like what they did. Those 3 first-round picks weren't going to develop into a lot. I think that Toronto getting those picks, you got Bruce Brown. You could probably move Bruce Brown for something else, and now you're in full rebuild mode. I think for Toronto, it sort of makes sense. For Indiana, I think that's a move they have to make, because I don't think they would have got it done with a lot of other trade people. They've been asked for Siakam the last 10 or 12 days before the trade. There was rumor that they really liked him, so they took a chance. Bruce Brown, like you said, is a big defender. They don't really have that, to replace. But again, they're an offensive team. They're not a defensive team, and I think that getting another guy that can rim run and do what he can do, puts him in a decent spot. I don't see them winning in the playoffs, but I think in the regular season, they could battle for that 4 or 5 spot in the East.
Agree with that. We'll watch that space and see how that all fits in. They got their first win the other night, so. Moving on, former NBA referee Ken Mauer is suing the NBA. I don't know if you saw this, Pro, but he was one of 3 former NBA referees that was stood down during the COVID-19 vaccination mandate, despite requesting religious or medical exemptions. Now, he is quoted as saying that the NBA, we took part in a 30-minute interview. A Jewish lawyer from the NBA office interviewed all of us for all but 30 minutes, all of about 30 minutes. And I guess he determined if we were religious or not. That to me is ridiculous, asking us questions that didn't even pertain to our religion. So obviously he applied for, he's a devout Catholic, I believe. They rejected it. They've fired him. 2,000 games in the NBA refereed, 25 plus years. And apparently they've squashed his pension with this, Pro. Which is pretty interesting and I think that's pretty low. I'm not sure if he's refereed 25 plus years. I don't know how the hell he loses his pension, because surely I know the NBA pension's 10 year max out. Maybe the referees is 30. I don't know, but they've squashed his pension. I think it's deplorable. I think everyone knows where I stand on the mandate. Don't have to go into that, but I was strongly against mandates in all forms of life when it came to the vaccination stuff. But now, after the fact, knowing what we know with everything that happened with COVID and did the vaccines do what they were supposed to do, I don't believe they did. The more and more stuff you read and the more and more stuff that comes out, they still have not allowed him back in the league. I think that ship sailed. Obviously, now they're in court. But I think it's pretty poor from the NBA's point of view that you've got a referee. And I've had a lot of dealings with Ken Mauer, and I always found him to be one of the better officials to talk to, very respectful, had a firm line. Like if you went over the line, you got a T. He wasn't a Joey Crawford by any means, but he would actually engage with you and be like, oh, mate, yeah, I might have missed that one. I remember having great conversation with him numerous times, and I enjoyed him as a ref. But for the NBA to not only turf him, that's one argument, but to actually get rid of his pension along the way and not honor that, I think is pretty poor, Pro.
Yeah, look, the NBA could, for one course or another, could do what they want to do with the vaccination stuff. And I get it. Wherever they stand, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's their right to do whatever. But Ken Maurer was a guy, a referee that was very well respected, did his job. You didn't really hear much from him. He wasn't really a big, you got a lot of these eye guys that are really narcissistic. I guess you got to be a little bit narcissistic to be an NBA referee, but he was, he was fair. He dealt well with the players. The pension thing does definitely bothers me. Everything else, hey, look, if you have your mandates that you say, look, you got to be able to, you have to take it to work on a league. If that's the way they want to go with it, that's great. That's their right. But to take a guy's pension away, now again, I didn't read into why they did it. Was there something else that happened? Because if you get fired, you usually have your pension. You have to do something really like break, federal rules, be, felony, like to get your pension taken away. I'd be interested to see what the actual reason was for getting the pension taken away. But I mean, look, the guy works countless years in the NBA, well respected, building up a career, building up money that he sort of invested into the system and whatnot. And with the years that he spent in the NBA, all those long trips and, long seasons away from family and represented the league pretty well. Obviously, they disagreed on that with the mandates, but yeah, it is disappointing to see someone, that worked that long, that was that good and did the job for the right reasons, so to get his pension taken away. That's unfortunate, man.
Yep, not good. I saw that one and thought we'd put it in, but yeah, wish all the best to him. I hope he wins the court case and gets a nice little payout from the NBA, and he can move on with his life. Josh Giddey officially will not be charged with the allegations that were put forward mainly by social media and people out there that he was interacting with an underage girl. We still don't know the details other than he was investigated by police. Police have then said that the female in question and the family will absolutely not cooperate with police officials. So that's where that dies. That has now been squashed. The NBA's reportedly investigating. I think that is fluff. I don't think the NBA has a leg to stand on. If you are not criminally charged, now put the case aside whether you agree with the findings or the verdict. The police are saying that there's no investigation. The Giddey thing, is it borderline? That's a whole different discussion. The NBA investigating this, I think, is just fluff because you have a huge issue with the Players Association. If the NBA was to do their own investigation and say, well, we think you did wrong when you haven't been formally charged or criminally convicted, pretty hard leg to stand on. So I don't buy into the NBA investigation stuff, pro, but I think for Josh's sake, it's good in a way to have some sort of closure on this and move on. You get on with his basketball career, right or wrong. Like I said, that's people have their different opinions on it. From what we believe or what I believe was that there was some lies throughout within this. With the age, there were some people saying, well, you should have known anyway. I'm not going to get into all that, but for his sake and his career, he can now move on. He's getting absolutely ostracized in every arena he goes to. He's getting booed everywhere he goes. I think give it 6 months to a year. I think everyone will forget about it and we can move on. But as far as the criminal case, it is what it is. Let's not forget there's been numerous athletes that have gone through similar type things, if not worse, that within 6 months to a year, people forget and move on about. That's just the reality of the world that we live in. But as far as his career and everything going on, he can now somewhat move on from it and focus on basketball.
Yeah, it's like anything else, Bogues. A lot of players, they learn early in their career about, they get some hard lessons. Paul Pierce had a hard lesson about, getting stabbed repeatedly, being in the wrong place, wrong time, going on at night. There are people with sexual stuff that happens in the league. It is what it is, and it sucks. He went through it. It's just something that he learns from. He knows going forward now he's got to do a little bit more investigative work when he goes to have relations with a girl, what have you. But like you said, it'll last 6 months, 9 months, maybe a year and a half. But it'll go. But it did teach him a lesson that look, Now you got to be a little bit more careful what you do. You're definitely under scrutiny. And with the NBA, look, they're probably trying to save face a little bit with public, saying, that even though that he's, the case was dropped, I'm sure a lot of people want to see him, tried and convicted and going to jail or banned from the NBA or what have you. So they're probably doing a little bit of, sort of service to them by saying, well, we're going to investigate. But like you said, it's going to die down and die out. But you know how, name conscience the NBA is with or big organizations are with this stuff. So yeah, hey, he can get on with it. Well, my thing is he didn't rape anybody like forcefully. He didn't beat up anybody. He didn't beat up a spouse and choke her almost into death. He didn't do anything like that. It's not the greatest of circumstances that he dealt with, but hey, look, it's past him. They dropped charges. He can move on. The league will probably drop their case, their investigation, and then, hopefully he learns from this going forward.
Agree. That's the key. That last sentence, hopefully learns from this going forward, and kind of tightens his circle and is smart about things moving forward, because there's much more that can happen if you continue to, be out and about too much. I mean, every young fella or young girl deserves to go out and enjoy their youth, but there's definitely some catches with that, and this was one of them. This is not news you ever want broken, whether it's completely true or not, whether he knew or he didn't, who knows. But yeah, it's just a pretty poor circumstance for everyone involved, I believe. So hopefully that's the end of it for anything to do with Giddey off the floor. I believe it's a pretty big wake-up call. Final one, the Clippers have announced their new arena with a passionate and jovial Steve Ballmer. I mean, he's absolutely great. I think, sports teams owners to have this kind of passion, and it's over the top at times, but I like it. I like him sitting courtside, pumping his fist. He feels the stress of the game. They're the owners that you want. Gave a press conference talking about the new arena that the Clippers are going to build, I think ready in 2026, I believe. And notably, they're going to know which fans cheer. I found this very, very interesting. So, quote, you get up, we're going to know you stood up. We know that you cheer. We know how loudly you cheer. If you're good on those things, we'll give you a little discount around the shop. So I have a little IP around this with Squad 6, Pro. I started a fan section, for those that don't know, back in 2010 in Milwaukee. Cold, quiet nights in the old Bradley Center there. We'd only be getting 10,000 people in an 18,000-seat arena, and ended up buying season tickets for 100 fans. The only catch was you had to cheer and be loud. So it's similar. This is kind of the AI version of that, Pro. So I want some royalties from Steve Ballmer, but I like it. I think it's quirky. It's different. Somewhat concerning that they can track every fan's cheering abilities in an arena of 18,000 people with the way technology is going. They're going to start charging people by, the girth of their bowel movements in arenas maybe soon, Pro, with the technology moving the way it is. It's just getting pretty insane with what's going on in the world. But the fact that they can figure out who cheered the loudest and say, hey, Pro, you were cheering very loud last game, we're going to give you a 50% off a Clippers loyal fan hat, So I find it interesting. But you also mentioned you read some stuff about some marijuana rooms. Did you read that, Pro? Was that you?
Somebody sent me a text saying that there was let me just see if I can find
smoking section or something like that.
Here. There was this way up, way up, back of the building up top, where they there's a marijuana and smoking section in the arena, and I'm trying to find the text, but hold on, let me just see if I can look it up real quick.
Do you think that having them way up in the arena was a pun for how high they'll be?
Hold on, that's actually pretty good. Wait a minute. ESPN sources: the Clippers' new arena. Hold on. Yeah, I think it was fake, Bogues. I think we all got. My guy got duped.
No, Trent's just brought something up on Forbes. ESPN sources. Clippers' new arena, Intuit Dome, is planned to have its own 21 and older section in the upper bowl that will allow for fans to smoke marijuana or cigarettes. Look, an X account that looks like it belongs. It is completely fake. Take a closer look at the account sharing this information. It was from an account that looked like Adrian Wojnarowski, those guys that make.
I swear to God, my guy sends me more fake shit with this Woj account. And I always he goes, did you read that Giannis got traded today? I'm like, hey, asshole, can you fucking read the username of Woj? Oh, it's at Woj ESPN. Yeah, no shit. I've got duped before.
Yeah, NBA Central. There's an NBA Central one as well with like 2 L's.
Dude, what the fuck?
What kills you is some of these accounts have 100,000 followers, so you're like, oh, it's legit. It's got the blue tick. And you read quickly of a screenshot, and then you really look at it, you're like, fuck.
Hey, morons. All right? I'm fucking 48. I'm done, right? But I know enough about technology. With Woj, I have it where it's on, you set it where whenever he tweets something, it goes right to your phone.
Yeah.
And you just check that, just so you know it's him or not him. Because I'm fucking tired of it. I don't mind it, but this is the first time I took this shit to this show. And now I'm going to have to my fucking balls busted by Aussie Ball Lover 27 fucking, to busting my fucking balls about it. So yeah, now I'm fucking pissed. Now I'm not even pissed, but now I gotta eat shit for a week or two.
Yeah, no, it's
actually
everyone gets
4 or
got,
5.
And we were one of the few that will admit when we got. So lucky we did it live on air and we figured it out. We workshopped it live on the pod, so hope the fans appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that would have been. It makes sense in California though, right? Like it makes sense.
You would think if it's legal or whatever, you're way up. They got. I'm sure Obama spent the GDP of a fucking third world country to fucking, to get some vacuum system that takes all the fucking smoke out of the air. It's going to be, I'm sure this building is going to be off the charts with all the bells and whistles they're going to have on it. I've heard nothing but this thing's epic of what they're building. So I'd be really interested to see how this thing is.
It's always epic until they start getting those bills rolling in. Like I remember some of the plans the Warriors initially had for their arena changed a little bit as time went on because I think some of the costings of it were outrageous. So it will be interesting, but I hope it doesn't take away from the game. That's my thing. Some of these arenas are going so over the top that it takes away from the game, right? Like there's suites, I believe, in the new arena that are underground at Golden State that,
Yeah, the wine cellar or something like that.
Bathrooms are underground for high-end ticket holders and stuff, and you're just like,
but
if you're doing that, just stay home.
The one thing about this guy, Bogues, though, he dwarfs probably 98% of the owners as far as wealth of what he has. So, these other owners, when I was in Boston first, it was 32 owners because they had to come up with the capital. Golden State, their owners, obviously he's got money, but he doesn't have this guy's money. I mean, this guy's so he
Microsoft,
could do whatever, but it'll be interesting, man. I like the idea about getting the discounts for being allowed because now, you got a bunch of you know how it is. People will sell their soul and their children for free T-shirts or fucking discounts.
The T-shirts.
I hate the T-shirt.
We bring it up a lot, but every time it happens, I'm just like, these people just act like it's a $5 T-shirt. They're fucking losing their minds.
It's fucking a T-shirt. I've seen people knock over children to get their fucking T-shirt. Right?
My wife got hit. Yeah, my wife got really messed up by a big fat fan that fell over trying to die for a T-shirt, fell over the row of chairs as my wife was sitting in her chair and crushed her whole back. And I'm just like...
Well, Bogues, for someone who's in shape, I really take offense for you going after my people. But in this case, because a jerk-off wanted to go after a T-shirt, I'm going to give you a pass for today because that fucking guy deserves to be fucking...
As soon as you say free,
in front of a fire
as soon as you say free, people just lose their minds. But
so that place is going to be rocking anyway. And if you give some jerk-off some fucking 20% off some fucking awful hat that you ain't going to sell anyway, and give him a discount on that,
win-win.
God bless you. But that place will be loud.
Yeah, it would be good. All right, Aussie of the week, Dante Exum, still injured. Right heel injury, January 1st. Reportedly went through some non-contact work during Friday's practice last week, but wasn't able to fully participate, so he'll still be on the mend a little bit, and it will be out for a little while. Josh Green, 8.8 points, 4 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 6 for 14 from 3. Joe Ingles, 7.5 points a game, 1.3 rebounds, 4.1 assists, 1 steal per game, 12 for 26 from 3. So probably a better month for Joe since coming back from injury. I think he's starting to find a little bit of a flow off that bench for Orlando, and they're playing still up and down a little bit. They've got a bunch of injuries, but they're playing better. Jock Landale, 3 points, 2 rebounds, garbage minutes. Not cracking the rotation unless it's a blowout at the moment. He's really fallen out of stead there in Houston, just not fitting in. Jeff Green's taking the bulk of those minutes as the primary backup big. So be interesting to see how that plays out over the next year. People forget Jock did sign a 4-year, $32 million deal, but it is really a 1-year deal. They're all team options. It's not a 4-year deal. He's got to treat it mentally as he's a free agent at the end of this season. Considering that he's not playing much, highly unlikely Houston picked that option up now. So I'm interested to see what's going on with Jock, and I'd watch that name around trade deadline. I mean, he proved that he could be a pretty valuable asset. He didn't stop Jokic, but he made him work in that series, and I think that's where his name got out a little bit as a good backup big. Maybe a team in the West looks at that during trade deadline that's in the mix in the West and says, all right, we'll bring you in as a backup big when we face that big Serbian in a playoff series. Maybe even Phoenix, who knows? Could end up back there if they buy him out and he moves on. Who knows what's going to happen? But I'd watch that space because it doesn't seem like it's fitting well. Patty Mills has cracked the rotation for the first time in his Atlanta Hawks career. He's played the last 3 games, a decent amount of minutes, played a little bit of garbage before that, but he's at 4.75 points, 1.2 rebounds. And it's just good to see him at least back in there a little bit, coming up to, as I've said, a concern of mine, Olympic year. A lot of these guys are not playing that many minutes. So to see him back on the floor and feeling a flow, I think is very, very important for the Boomers' chances. But good to see him back in there. Matisse Thybulle's completely fallen wayside, pro. I do not know what's going on. I know Portland suck and they're probably developing a lot of their young guys, but he's had his worst run in a long time. 2 points, 0.6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal over the last, a little bit under a month. We had a pretty good run there in I think November, December, but he's completely fallen off the wayside there. Ben Simmons still out, no news to report there. Hopefully he's back soon. Brooklyn's playing okay. They've found some wins as of late. Josh Giddey, 10.8 points, 7.5 rebounds, 5.2 assists, 7 for 26 from 3 in that span. Starting to find himself a little bit, but still they're capping him at around 20 minutes, pro. They're not playing him a lot of minutes like he was last season or early in the season. So it'll be interesting to see whether he's there long term. I think he's extension eligible in the off season, so will be very, very interesting to see where that all goes. Got the hiccups. Duop Reith, 11 points, 6.1 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 8 for 22 from 3. Playing really well. Aiden we'll get into a little bit later, but playing really well with the minutes that he's given and shooting the ball at a decent clip from 3. Dyson Daniels still in and out of that lineup with Alvarado. He's had some high-minute games. He had 38 minutes on the 13th, so McCollum out or Alvarado, but his points not off the chart, averaging 3 to 4 points a night, 3.5 I think it is. But where he does his damage, obviously, is at the defensive end for them. So he had a 7 assist game on the 13th of January as well. But yeah, I think he's mainly in that lineup still, as we've said, to defend, and it's usually split between him and Alvarado. So he'll find more minutes as they have more injuries, but as of late, he's averaging about 15 odd minutes a night. He's back in the rotation. When McCollum came back, he really saw his minutes kind of plummet to 5 to 10, but now he's back into that 15-minute mark, averaging roughly 3 and 2 over that period. So hopefully he can continue that form. But I'm going to give it to Duop Reith. I'm going to give it to Duop Reith. He's been playing well. Josh Giddey probably a little hard done by, considering they're winning and whatnot. But Duop Reith's journey, where he's gone to Europe and try to find his feet, and now he's actually solidified himself as a really good backup big. And it's going to be a dogfight between him and Jock Landale for that starting 5 spot. You're the head coach of the Boomers. Jock not playing a lot right now. Duop playing a fair bit, shooting the ball well from 3. It's going to be interesting to see how they start, or if they start both of them again. I know they were going to potentially do that at one point, and then Jock got hurt. But that's going to be interesting. But I'm going to need to do Reith for his first ever Aussie of the Week, bro.
Congratulations, man. He's been playing well, dude. I didn't expect him to play great. To play, to have this type of impact that he's having. I mean, he's shooting the ball well. Look, I think they're giving him a block of minutes and saying, "Hey, look, do what you do and play through it. We're not going to be very good, so let's go. Do your thing. Take your lumps and then get better with it." And I think anybody could attest that you could do the same. Where if you have these types of minutes where you're going to get them and they're going to stick with you and they sort of believe in you a little bit, that it helps your confidence, helps your game. The guy plays hard. He screens hard. He's developed his shot. He plays hard defensively. He rolls hard to the rim. He's a rugged kid. I think it's a good fit for them and for him in Portland. And yeah, I mean, much well deserved. Well deserved.
It is. And that will segue into our useful or useless pro. DeAndre Ayton, potentially the first player in NBA history to be stuck in his own driveway and miss a game due to ice on the road, pro, versus Brooklyn.
Give me a fucking break, man.
I know, this Ayton, I mean, Reith's in the perfect spot because Ayton's just so unreliable. I think mentally too, like he just seems like he's checked out. They're in a bad team. Went that way a little bit in Phoenix. And Dwop's in a perfect situation backing him up because you can't rely on him at the minute. But I have not heard of, I don't know if you have, pro, but I've not heard of someone being iced into their own driveway. Surely there's a way out. You got to figure something out. Surely. Couldn't get to his own home game, pro. Useful, useless.
Bogues, the guy makes $32.5 million a year. He could hire SEAL Team 6 to chop her in and fucking grab him. The guys who killed Bin Laden, he could have had them come in with fucking choppers and lifted him up off his fucking driveway. All right. He's not a taxi driver making $7 an hour. He's not working as a fucking, he doesn't sell snow cones for a living where he's got to stay the fuck home. He makes $32 million a year as a professional athlete. And he stays home and tweets out a picture of him like on his couch with his socks on, tweeting a picture of the fucking snow and said, "I tried." Give me a fucking break. You got people with 6 fucking jobs just trying to stay in a shithole apartment, in the fucking worst part of town that they would cut an arm off to get to work. And this fucking guy makes $32 million. They couldn't send some jerk off from the fucking intern department to pick him up in a fucking SUV. Come on, man. Give me a fucking break with this shit.
Must have been super
And he missed
icy.
11 games in a row. I think he just missed 11 games he was about to play that night. And this is how much you want to play? I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, I've not heard of someone being snowed in their own driveway before. I'm sure.
No, fuck that.
I wonder if they send send someone out there to make sure that it was legit. I mean, but it's pretty interesting. But just thought I'd add that. All right, useful or useless stats. Here's one. Give me your.
Oh, I'm sorry. Useful for sure. Of telling me that I never want him on my fucking roster ever. I don't care if I'm the Guangdong Dragons of the fucking Chinese league. I will not call him up. I will call a 63-year-old dead man. I'll get a corpse and put him on my fucking roster before I get a guy that won't want to go out in the ice to come to an NBA game when he's making $32 million a year. Go ahead.
Interesting. All right, so give me if you had to guess today, bottom 3 players in plus minus for the season, pro, total.
Oh, fuck. Bottom 3. Well, I'm probably going to have to go with somebody from Detroit. Hold on. I'm not looking up the stats. I'm just looking up Detroit's roster. So I'm just going to see some starters from Detroit. Okay, so I'm going to go with Jaden Ivey. I don't know. I'll guess that. So that's one guy. Let me see. Give me some Jordan Poole for sure. I'm going to put on that. And then you said bottom 3. So let me get somebody from San Antonio real quick. San Antonio Spurs. Let's go with Devin Vassell. I have no idea. I never even looked this up. But go ahead.
Jordan Poole is the worst in the league at minus
Shocker.
338 as of today. Second worst is his teammate, Kyle Kuzma. Minus
I was going to say Kuzma.
Minus 328.
Are there really balloons that just went fucking behind you? What's Trent doing, man?
So maybe Zoom add-ons.
Do we got a drug test trend or what?
I don't know. Maybe it's something on Zoom on your screen.
I was gonna say Kuzma. Go ahead. What's the third?
Kuzma 2 and Jeremy Grant minus 298. So I didn't have that one, but I definitely would have guessed one of the Wizards for sure, just because they suck. But they're, all the fanfare around Detroit sucking so bad. Washington suck as well. They're really bad. And you watch their games, and you're just like, oh my goodness.
I watched them last night against San Antonio.
I saw that. I watched the fourth quarter, and I'm like, oh, it looks like they're going to wrap this one up, and they just found a way to lose. It's just like
they shit the bed on that one.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So useless,
with the Sochan 3, they fucked.
And
they
free
lost
throws, he knocked down 2. He knocked down some big free throws. Useful, useless.
Yeah. Useful for sure. I mean, I hate plus minus. I hate plus minus. It's the worst stat ever. But I got to say that's pretty useful to say that, hey,
well, these are all plus minus ones for this week, Pro. So you deal with it. All right, and just to wrap that up, we don't have to use this, but I'll give you the top 3 in the league as of today. Who will your top 3 be for plus minus, Pro? Give me your top 3 guesses.
White from Boston. Give me Anthony Edwards, and give me, I wouldn't say Josh. Give me someone from Oklahoma City, maybe. No. Give me Jokic for third.
Pretty good, actually. Derek White, number 1, 362. Jokic is 331. Number 2 is Maxey at 341, which is impressive because Embiid's missed a lot of games. So the fact that he's still kept his team competitive and playing well. I feel they've won a fair few games without Embiid, mind you. Pretty impressive. So, all right, last one. OG in New York, plus 173 in his first 10 games as a Knick. This comes via Trent. It's the highest in NBA history through his first 10 with a team, Pro. Useful, useless?
Useful. Why not? I hate the fucking stat, but I'm a little jealous that I don't have balloons on my screen, but go ahead. Yep. I say useful.
We don't know what you're talking about. That might be some of the non-18 and under websites you were on before you joined this podcast, Pro, that are prohibited.
Good point.
But 173 in 10 games as a Knick, and Dibbs is running that man in the ground already. He's playing 45 minutes a night. There's no rest for the weekend for Onobi, but that's pretty impressive. It's hard to do, and I think we both spoke about it when the trade happened. He was a piece that just fits in so well for that team. Perimeter guy that's going to guard, does the little things for him, can knock down the 3, gotten better in that aspect, but I think just a great pickup for the New York Knicks. Even though they got rid of some young talent to get him, I think it was a perfect fit. Such a Thibs player, in my opinion, so very useful. All right, NBL, Pro, what a pride-filled round it was this week, Pro. It was the rainbow round here, Pro. I'm not sure if you're familiar, so a lot of rainbows floating around for Pride round. Which was interesting in itself. But United fall on Tassie in Tasmania. Perth go 2-0, easily handling of Brisbane, followed by a very good road win versus Sydney Kings. So the Sydney Kings go down to Perth at home. Close game, but pretty sloppy in patches. High scoring game. Illawarra dropped 2, which is probably 2 big losses. They lose on the buzzer to Cairns at home. And then go down to Adelaide. Adelaide go 2-0 to get off the bottom of the ladder, which was good. Southeast Melbourne, Phoenix do not look great. They do have the Sydney Kings this week, which will be an interesting matchup down in Melbourne, but they are at the bottom of the ladder now. Brisbane get Cairns last night. It's been, I know I talk about it every week, but it's been a phenomenal year as far as a lot of moving and changing. Adelaide now, fired their coach a month or 2 ago. They're off the bottom of the ladder and in some decent form. You look at, how much 3 to basically 8 or 9 is changing on a weekly basis is insane. I think Melbourne and Perth, we can tick the box with them and say they've wrapped up those 2 spots. Only 6 games remaining for both those guys. Unless they absolutely implode, I don't see them falling out of those 2 spots. I think they've wrapped them up, which solidifies them to the semi-finals. And the playing games just continue to change. Brisbane has now moved into 4th, Tasmania in 3rd, Sydney in 5th, Cairns in 6th. New Zealand are charging up from the bottom and have a bunch of games in hand. Illawarra found some form, but now they've kind of lost 2 in a row. So it's been really fun to watch, Pro, and a really close season. It's what you want. So it'll be interesting to see how it all finishes up. Some more, I think 3 to 4 more rounds left. But on top of that, we have some 40 Ford in Cairns gave a pretty good soundbite that hopefully you can understand the accent, Pro, but just talking about the inconsistency from the officials, but he decided to take it into a tact of using sarcasm. So it somewhat will prevent, I believe, a a fine. I like Adam Ford's form in this one. He was just talking about David Stevenson, who's taken over, as part of the NBL, overseeing the officiating and fines and all that kind of stuff. And here's the clip for you, Pro. Let me know if you like this way of doing business.
32 free throws for the Hawks, 11 for you. You mentioned the officiating. I don't want you to get in the hot water, but what part of it frustrated you the most?
No, they've been fantastic. So since David's been on the job for 6 months and, put out the zero tolerance, it's fixed everything. So it's nothing to do with the officials, it's everybody else. It's everybody else has to adjust. And so, you look at the defensive ratings of teams this year, and they're up. Why? Why was there such an aggressive change from last year where, by comparison, as it stands right now, Melbourne United have the healthiest defensive rating, but last year they were ranking about 4th. So what's changed? And it's not the officiating, because David's done a fantastic job of stamping out any type of critical feedback and accountability in that regards. So, we've got to do a better job of getting even more thinner over those screens. We've got to do a better job of verticality to the point where maybe you can collapse your chest a little bit to absorb a little bit more of the contact. Maybe we can do a better job of, I don't know, like allowing second chance points because you're not allowed to compete for the rebound. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But, we gave up 46 foul shots against Adelaide and we won. And tonight we gave up, 20 foul shots in the 4th and we won. So just keep throwing these things at us and it's only going to make us a little bit more ticked off about it.
Good way of going about it, in my opinion. I don't think the league can fine him for that, I don't believe. But he's basically put it on that the officials can do no wrong and it's up to us to always adjust, Pro.
Of course. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we? No, I think it was, hey, look, sarcasm is great. It's better than it's better than motherfucking them and screaming and swearing and getting all upset about it. What are you going to do? You're not going to change shit. So we might as well just have a little fun with it. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, zero tolerance. I also like the part where when you go on vertical, we need to further cave our chest away from the
cave our chest. Yeah.
Really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
And just finally, Pro, I'm gonna put your league. You probably haven't followed what has transpired, so I hope you haven't, because it's a loaded question. But you're the commissioner of a sporting league, Pro, and you've got one athlete who has tweeted. There was a photo of a rainbow flag that said, "What are your thoughts when you see this flag?" And an athlete in your league, Pro, has tweeted saying, "Mental illness." That's all it said, right? Then you've got an athlete that got caught drunk driving, Pro, in your league. Which one do you think receives a harsher penalty?
I would assume that the drunk driver, the drunk driver had to. I mean, the guy literally broke a rule, so I haven't followed it at all. But I'm going to say that the drunk driver got a stiffer penalty.
You'd be wrong in the case of the NBL, Pro. So Corey Webster infamously put that tweet out about 3 months ago, right in the NBL preseason. Swiftly handled, Pro, within 24 hours, received a 1-game suspension and a 1-game suspended, I believe. Notably, swiftly handled within a day or two. Gary Clark from the Illawarra Hawks pulled over for drunk driving, was over the limit. Took them about, I think, 7 to 10 days to come with a resolution, which was just a fine and a suspended sentence, does not miss any games. Now, the NBL is going to put this on Basketball Australia because they've passed all the integrity type stuff away to Basketball Australia to adjudicate and put down penalties. So they're going to pass the buck. But someone needs to be held accountable for that. That's absolutely ridiculous. Someone's opinion, and I'm a free speech absolutist. I think that it shouldn't have been a suspension. I think there is personal thoughts and views, so be it, whether right or wrong, whether this or that. Okay? but he was suspended. You got someone literally drink driving, which is a criminal conviction. You're convicted of it could have killed somebody, could have crashed, could have caused property damage, could have hurt someone. No, that's fine in our league. Just don't put out tweets that are politically incorrect. That to me is just the very reason why I speak out on all this shit, because it's the woke mind virus has just completely baffled people's brains that you can actually warrant not suspending someone driving under the influence, but a tweet can get you suspended. Is just thought I'd put it out there. And for context, Pro had no idea I was going to ask this. This was not prepped. We don't do that. We don't do all that bullshit while we're prepping each other. I think most people with, a pretty steady brain would agree that drunk driving is a much more severe thing and more punishable offense than putting out a tweet that some people would say is politically incorrect. And some people would say, well, that's his opinion. Don't agree with it. We move on. But to get suspended for that and not for drunk driving, just thought I'd note that, Pro. That's the life in the NBL right now. They have a lot to answer for. Their tribunals, going back to the Aaron Baines thing, going back to people getting away with throwing punches. It is literally a lottery when you go to the tribunal within basketball in Australia, where you might get a bonus these days for doing something wrong. They might pay you. You just don't know. It's literally a lottery where you pick a number and a result comes, and you got to live with that, because of the appeals process is somewhat not great neither from what I understand. But just thought I'd put that out there. Fact or fake news, Pro? I've got one for you this week. Fact or fake news, Pro? The Miami Heat giving Spo his extension after his divorce was settled was one of the biggest gangster moves in NBA history, Pro. $120+ million over 8 years, Pro. Fact or fake news?
1,000%. 1,000% it was. That's amazing. But think about it, though. The guy's been in the organization 26 years. He's won championships. Those guys been through wars together. Of course he's going to take care of him with it. But on the other note, like, the wife did get taken care of from the money he made before, yes, I'm sure. So
of course, but still, it's such a gangster move.
It is a gangster move. It is a gangster
That would have been
move.
discussing this probably for 12, 24 months, and just hit pause on that shit. And I respect it. Like you said, he's been a loyal soldier for them. There's a mutual respect. You love to see that kind of stuff, and saved him a shitload of money, which is great to see.
I mean, what? Like, if she wasn't the CEO of a company that she'd worked for 30 years and they knew she was going through a divorce, they wouldn't have done the same thing. I mean, it is what it is. It's just,
it's good business.
You're taking care of a friend.
Gangster move.
I got no problem.
Well done, Miami Heat.
No problem with that. Yeah. Like I said, it's not like she was starving in the streets, with a cup. She made plenty of, I'm sure she got taken care of with the whole thing, but
no doubt.
That's a gangster move.
Gangster move. Fact. What do you got?
Bogues, fact or fake news? All right. I'll give you my answer. I'll give you all the evidence, give you my answer, and then you tell me what. DeAndre Ayton, Bruce Brown, okay, showing up for their games. Bruce Brown gets traded on a Wednesday, noontime, traded on a Wednesday. He's in Sacramento. He flies back. He's got a game on Thursday in Toronto against Chicago. He flies back to Indiana, takes a flight from Sacramento to get back to Indiana. Gets his stuff together, flies to Toronto. Thursday has medical. Plays that night. 25 minutes, 15.7 rebounds. DeAndre Ayton, snowing out, looks outside, scratches his balls and says, and goes back to bed. DeAndre Ayton worked harder to get on the court that day than fucking Bruce Brown. And Bruce Brown lost 3 hours, Bogues, with traveling from Sacramento to Toronto. And I assume
it would have been commercial. It wouldn't have been, do you think it would have been chartered?
No, commercial. For sure it's commercial.
Yeah.
Fact or fake news, DeAndre Ayton worked harder to get on the court than Bruce Brown that night.
Sarcastic fake news, of course. That is a very, very good dig up by you with Bruce Brown. I didn't catch that one, but that's very impressive, actually, because I think you get 48 hours to report, right?
Yeah.
at time of trade,
Right.
you get 48 hours, so you can actually take a day off, chill out, pack your shit, hang with your family.
Dude.
He was like, "No, I'm getting there." That's commendable.
And-
And Aiden.
And you know that medical's a bitch. I remember when I was in Boston, Bogues, we traded for Rafe LaFrenz. We traded Andrew Walker for Rafe LaFrenz. I picked up Rafe LaFrenz at the airport at about, I don't know, noontime. We were in the doctor's office and hospitals all fucking day. We didn't get back to get x-rays and stuff done probably for like 7 hours. It was an ordeal. And this guy fucking flies, does the medical, plays 25 minutes to a team he knows nothing about and scores 15 and 7. The other guy scratches his balls, takes a sip of tea and says, eh.
Did you really post a selfie? Did you really post a photo though? I didn't see that.
So I listened religiously to Sirius Radio with Frank Isola and Brian Scalabrine. And they were all in a tomfoolery in that show. And they literally said, he tweeted out, like, I think, I didn't check the post, and Trent probably can do it. But literally, I'm imagining like he's on the couch, his feet are like in front of his camera, and then behind his feet, in front of his feet, is like the snowy outside, and he goes, "I tried," or something like that. Now, maybe they were just adding to it and they were bullshitting, but I mean,
you sure this wasn't your same friend that sent you the Woj tweet?
No. That wasn't my friend. My friend that fucked me on the Woj thing is he will be named nameless, but he's gonna pay for this one because it's like the 5th time. I'm tired of it. He's cried wolf too many times. I ain't doing it no more. But no, they said they tweeted it out. Now hold on, let me see.
You find anything?
Let me see. Tread, find anything?
Nothing
DeAndre,
on his personal Twitter. I can't see anything. He hasn't tweeted anything since like 2021.
Social
Insta maybe?
media. Hold on. Tried.
It might be his Insta.
Hold on. We gotta find this. Tried.
Could be Insta. It could be an Instagram. No, maybe we can't trust Sirius Radio with Solar and Scal anymore, pro. Maybe
I
they
was
were
supposed to have breakfast. I was supposed to have breakfast with Scal tomorrow. But they would, dude. I gotta think it's true. I'm gonna think it's true. Hold on. DeAndre.
Yeah, I can't find anything here. Sorry. Bro.
Oh my God, pro.
Oh,
0 for 2. 0 for 2.
I don't care. I'm still keeping the fact or fake news. And that's a great story. That's way better than a marijuana story, by the way. Twisting, missing the game. Ice. Tweet. Hold on.
If Trent didn't find it, you're not finding it, bro. So just put your phone down.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, I believe it. He probably deleted it. I'm telling you that I don't think they would lie about something like that, but maybe they will. I don't
bring
know.
it up at breakfast, and then also bring up when Scalabrine was the first NBA assistant coach to get sent down to the G League from Mark Jackson, and say Bogues told me to bring that story up for you at breakfast and tell the Red Mamba I say hello and to reminisce about his good old times, and that when he walked in the training room and said, "Hey, Bogues, I'm out." I said, "Where are you going?" He goes, "They sent me to the G League." I was like, what?
I did hear about that story, Bogues.
All-time best story. I'm getting treatment in the training room, and he just got in an argument with Mark Jackson the night before during halftime of our game in the film room. And then Scal would always come to practice. Like, he'd always come to practice. Say we practiced at 10:30. He'd be on the court at 9, and if there was no one to work out, he'd just be shooting by himself, right? He'd be shooting around.
Yeah.
And they came and got him off the court, and they said, yeah, like, they couldn't fire him because he was boys with Bob Myers. They didn't want that all to go down that way. So they're like, what can we do? He came out and he goes, all right, guys, I'm down. I'm going to Santa Cruz. I got sent out. I was like, what? Are you joking? He's like, no. They've told me to go down to the G League. So I'm just going to go down there and finish my contract there. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Dude, the stories I heard.
Oh, he's got some great ones. I wish he'd go into
the stories I
more.
heard about that. We need to get him on the show, by the way.
Yeah, talk to him tomorrow. Set it up then. Do some work for once.
Yeah.
Get him on the show, and I'll just grill him about that time.
Folks, I mean, first of all, I mean, obviously, I want everybody to listen to our show, but that show is hilarious because Isola, all he does is like go at guys, and they jokingly go at, but they do have a lot of good information. But Scal is funny with that stuff. But, dude, the stories I heard out of that Golden State Mark Jackson last year about like Klay Thompson shouting out Darren Erman for helping him with his defense. And then from what I heard, Darren Erman got his job threatened by if another player ever mentions you in a press conference. Instead of saying, putting his arm around him, like, dude, you do a great job. Like, imagine a player like telling the press how good of a job you did with him. That really helps our team. Like, great job, Darren. No, I'm gonna go with, if you mention the name again, you're fucking fired. I mean, come on, man. Like, that's one of 8,000.
It was the young and the restless every day in that thing, man. It was so funny. Like, there was always so much shenanigans and shit going on, and then like, oh, that assistant now rebounding for that guy. Oh, what's he doing? Like, everything was over. He was like, what? He's just rebounding for him because there's no political game. Like, oh no, he's trying to get me to get fired if he goes to management, and then he sides with that guy. I'm just like, oh my god,
that's
man.
the NBA, Bogues. People don't understand. When I tell stories like this about people being jealous over one assistant working with this player, this assistant works with this player. I heard there was a young guy that worked in the league at the time. He worked for a West Coast team, and he had a guy on his staff, ex-player, that had quote unquote an arthritic hip, that he never really worked with players. There was a really good young player that the press was like all over loving, right? When the press came in for the last 20 minutes of practice, they said the guy went from arthritic hip to Usain Bolt, sprinting across the practice gym to pass the ball and pass the ball to this player. I mean, the fucking shenanigans that goes on with this bullshit, like he's my guy, taking credit and don't want credit to be given to anybody is fucking phenomenal. Like, they could write a book about that thing, because it happens in almost every team, the politics of that bullshit. But like the Mark Jackson stuff, that was next level. It was on steroids.
It was on steroids. Every day it was like, there was
can't talk to the front office.
There was literally a drama. Like, he banned Jerry West from practice, bro. Like, we banned Jerry West. He was the advisor for the Warriors at the time. They banned him because they said he was a snitch. He's snitching, and they banned him from the facility. It's just like, what? Jerry West? He was livid, man. I saw him a few times after, and Jerry is every second word's an F-bomb. Like, these motherfuckers, what the fuck? But yeah, bring it up to scale. I'm sure he'll smile about when he got sent down first coach, useful or useless, or fact or fake news. First coach in NBA history.
Dude, I think I got screwed, man. I don't see this fucking post anywhere. I'm gonna give him shit tomorrow if I see him. That's bullshit.
We're gonna start fact checking everything you're saying. Community.
It's a great story, though. Imagine.
Sounds great.
You see, now that I think about it, he can't even be that stupid and post something like that. Like, people are gonna be at your throat about it. You're not gonna post, in my $10 million.
I think they were probably saying it facetiously, like he's probably sitting there, you know what I mean?
Fuck.
And Pro took the bait. Anyway, that wraps up another episode. Appreciate it, Pro. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Make sure you give this all a share and get more people listening to the pod. See you next week.
Later, guys.